Everything you lost is about to be restored, and the payback is far more than you ever dreamed possible. Chosen ones, your journey has been marked by betrayal, heartbreak, and countless moments of struggle. But God has set into motion a divine repayment plan that will leave you speechless. Stick with me for at least 12 minutes, and you will witness the first signs that your season of lack is officially over. Right now, hit that like button, subscribe and comment 77 to declare to the universe that you're ready to receive tenfold blessings. Then leave a second comment, ready for what's next, in your own words. This message promises immediate, tangible benefits that will spark a whole new era in your life. Chapter 1. You knew the pain of sudden loss. You once stared at the empty spaces in your life, wondering where the abundance had gone. Every time you stretched out your hand, it felt like the resources you needed were snatched away at the last moment. Maybe it was money that kept slipping through your fingers, or friends you believed in who vanished the second hardship arrived. Deep down, you questioned your worth, unsure why God allowed so many doors to slam shut. As a chosen one, you sensed there was a bigger reason behind these setbacks, yet your heart ached for answers. The hopelessness weighed on you, creating a silent ache that wouldn't fade no matter how hard you tried to stay positive. During those darkest nights, you prayed for relief. You begged for mercy, or at least a sign that your suffering wasn't in vain. At first, it felt like your pleas fell on deaf ears. The emptiness grew, and discouragement hovered over your every move. That's when despair whispered lies. Maybe you aren't chosen after all. Maybe you did something wrong to deserve this. Perhaps your destiny was always meant to be overshadowed by repeated disappointment. But despite the swirling confusion, a small ember of faith refused to die. Something in you just couldn't accept defeat. Eventually, you noticed subtle shifts. Doors you never noticed before began to crack open. People you never thought would offer assistance reached out with kindness. It wasn't a grand spectacle at first, more like faint flickers of hope that lit up the darkness just enough for you to see a path. You started to realize that every loss you experienced was shaping you, stripping away illusions and forcing you to cling more tightly to the truth God had placed in your heart. The turning point came when you acknowledged that the emptiness wasn't a permanent curse, but a setup for something greater. Every time you were denied an opportunity, it was actually a redirection away from a trap. Each friendship that collapsed taught you about loyalty and resilience. You gained spiritual muscle that would prove indispensable in the next phase of your journey. Through every tear, you were unknowingly storing treasure in a place the enemy couldn't corrupt. God was orchestrating a plan so precise that it required you to lose certain things before you could gain what was truly meant for you. Now that plan has matured. The tears you shed became the foundation for a harvest nobody else saw coming. The heartbreak that nearly broke you is giving way to a fresh wave of blessing, so powerful it will astonish those who thought your story had ended. Yes, you still remember the pain of being taken advantage of, but that memory only makes the coming restoration more meaningful. Something in your spirit senses it, the unraveling of a divine setup where all that was once stolen is returned with unshakable interest. This is the moment your old self always prayed for, and it is finally here. Chapter 2. You're standing on the edge of divine reversal. You once believed your fortunes hinged on outside factors, an inheritance, a job promotion, or someone else's approval. Over time, you realized people can promise the world but deliver nothing. You witnessed your best ideas being credited to someone else and your honest efforts dismissed. Each blow convinced you that maybe your turn would never come, that the world was always going to be skewed against you. Yet you've arrived at a spiritual intersection where God is about to overturn every injustice that left you feeling robbed and humiliated. Right now, something in you buzzes with anticipation, subtle but impossible to ignore. It's the sense that a higher force is rearranging circumstances in ways you can't fully explain. Old debts, emotional or financial, are about to be settled, and it's not by coincidence. Imagine a judge pounding the gavel, declaring the final ruling in your favor. That's the spiritual action unfolding. While others may be oblivious, you sense the shift, because chosen ones possess discernment that cuts through the noise of doubt. It's crucial, though, to understand that this divine reversal isn't merely about receiving back what you lost. It's an accelerated repayment that includes blessings stacked on top of blessings. God rarely restores at the level of your original loss. When He moves, it's with amplified favor that takes you far beyond your initial expectations. Think of individuals in sacred texts who faced crushing defeats only to see God elevate them to positions of unprecedented influence. That same principle applies to you now. You might worry your faith is too weak to sustain the breakthrough. After all, repeated disappointments can dull your hope. But even if your faith feels like a flickering candle, trust that God still sees it. He doesn't measure your worth by the volume of your praise, but by the sincerity of your heart. The moment you choose to believe that your restoration is real, you align yourself with the spiritual frequency where miracles happen. Your spoken words become seeds of possibility. Each time you declare, "I am ready to receive everything that was taken from me," and more, you water the soil of your future harvest. Still, there's a responsibility on your part. This reversal is not a free pass to remain passive. If an opportunity arises, take bold action. If your intuition nudges you to move in a new direction, move quickly. God might be opening doors that appear unusual or risky, but they are precisely aligned with your destiny. Pride could blind you to these divine seeds. Humility and an open mind will reveal them. The blessings are coming at a rapid pace, so you can't afford to linger in old mindsets of lack. Set your gaze forward. The betrayals and heartbreaks you endured were part of an intense training ground. They shaped your character and purified your intentions. Now that the tests are nearly over, the reward is exponential, not incremental. You are about to step into a reality where the best possible outcome is merely the baseline. Chosen one, the scales are shifting, and a wave of restoration is rushing to meet you faster than you ever thought possible. Chapter 3. You sense the cosmic scales tipping in your favor. You have endured many nights crying out for balance, watching those who wronged you walk freely while you struggled with the aftermath. It stung deeply when you saw people benefit from your kindness or take credit for the hard work you invested. Then came a series of heartbreaks that made you question God's timing and fairness. Yet through all the turmoil, something kept your heart soft, instead of letting bitterness consume you. That something is the unwavering conviction that God sees your tears and calculates them into your ultimate reward. Now you feel a certain warmth in your spirit, a sign that the cosmic scales are shifting. It's like watching an invisible hand rearrange puzzle pieces that were once scattered. You may not have all the details, but your soul knows a grand orchestration is taking place. People who once brushed you off or overlooked your talents begin to reappear, suddenly recognizing the value they dismissed. Offers you never dared to imagine are now showing up unannounced in your field of vision. This is not random. It's the realignment you prayed for coming at the precise moment God intended. But remember, this isn't about boasting in front of those who doubted you. If anything, it's about stepping into a role of grace. Will you let the outcome speak for itself? Let every open door serve as evidence of God's justice, rather than a means for you to exact revenge. Yes, there may be a part of you that craves vindication, an understandable desire after all the humiliation and theft you've experienced. Yet God doesn't elevate you just to mirror the pettiness of those who harmed you. He lifts you to model humility and compassion in the midst of undeniable favor. Each passing day, the sense of approaching victory grows stronger. You might receive intuitive flashes during prayer or quick mental images showing you accomplishing things that once seemed impossible. These are glimpses, confirmations that you're aligned with a heavenly agenda designed to restore what was taken and multiply it. The more you trust these hints, the more you'll recognize small confirming signs in your daily life. It could be as simple as overhearing a timely phrase in a crowded place, or noticing repeated numbers that speak to your spirit. To the skeptic, these might be coincidences, but to you, they're proof of the orchestrated plan in motion. Understand, though, repayment doesn't always come from the exact source of your pain. God can bring your abundance through new channels you never considered. Maybe a fresh business idea crosses your path, or you form an unexpected friendship that leads to unimaginable blessings. Keep an open mind about how your reparation arrives. If you cling too tightly to old dreams of restoration, you might miss the grander compensation God wants to provide. Above all, hold steady in your identity as a chosen one. While the scales tip in your favor, distractions will try to knock you off course. People from the past might return with insincere apologies or last-minute pleas for your help. Pray for discernment so you can see through manipulative attempts. Not everyone is meant to join you in this new chapter of abundant balance. Stand firm. Keep your eyes on God's unfolding plan and watch the payback manifest beyond your wildest imagination. Chapter 4. You're unlocking an overflow of unexpected opportunities. You spent years feeling boxed in by circumstances, as if a stubborn ceiling kept you from rising to your full potential. Each time you tried to advance, some hidden force seemed to block your path. Yet in the back of your mind, you always suspected a day would come when doors would swing wide open without resistance. That day is now arriving. The overflow of unexpected opportunities is not a trick or an illusion. It's the divine response to all you've endured. Suddenly, you notice interest from circles that once ignored you. Perhaps you find yourself connecting with influential individuals eager to collaborate, or you stumble upon a vacant position tailor-made for your skills. Even your creativity seems supercharged, producing ideas you never thought possible. At first, it might feel disorienting, like stepping into bright sunlight after dwelling in dim shadows for too long. That initial shock is just your mind adjusting to a new reality where scarcity is replaced by abundance. In this season, it's crucial that you manage your open doors with wisdom. Not every opportunity is meant for your journey. The enemy can camouflage distractions as golden chances, hoping to divert you from the path God ordained. Before rushing to seize every new offer, pray for clarity. Ask yourself if this aligns with your purpose, or if it's merely a glittering detour. Time and energy are precious. Squander them on the wrong pursuits, and you risk delaying the very blessings you've waited for. As you step into this flow of favor, keep humility at the forefront. You'll see the difference between those who accepted your potential and those who dismissed it. It might be tempting to flaunt your newfound success as a way to settle scores, but as a chosen one, you're not here to operate on the same frequency as those who once belittled you. Instead, use your elevation to extend grace when prompted. By doing so, you prove that your heart remains pure amid the cascading blessings. You transform from a wounded soul into a conduit for God's generosity, uplifting others even as you ascend. Don't be surprised if these opportunities also challenge you to grow faster than you imagined. Sometimes blessings come packaged as responsibilities that stretch your skills and character. You might be asked to lead a team, oversee a large project, or speak on a topic you previously avoided. Embrace the challenge. God wouldn't present this opportunity if you weren't ready, or at least capable of rising to it. When self-doubt sets in, remind yourself that your track record of overcoming adversity is proof of your resilience. If you can endure seasons of profound lack, you can certainly thrive in a season of abundance. Finally, let gratitude be your compass. The more you appreciate each new opening, the more doors will continue to appear. This is not about hoarding blessings or becoming arrogant. Rather, it's about recognizing you're a vessel meant to channel these gifts for a higher purpose. Each opportunity that comes your way is another layer of restoration. It's the tangible evidence that everything you lost is returning in grand style, backed by the promises of a God who never forgets what was stolen from his chosen ones. Chapter 5. You must release resentment to hold the blessings. You still carry memories of the people who betrayed you, the friend who stabbed you in the back, the family member who manipulated you, or the partner who vanished without a trace. These wounds left deep scars, fueling an anger you tried to suppress but could never quite release. Now that your season of restoration is here, you face a critical choice. Will you cling to the bitterness or make room for the blessings? Unforgiveness is a heavy anchor. It keeps your heart tied to the past, blocking the flow of good things into your present. No matter how grand the opportunities before you, resentment can quickly sour them. Imagine receiving a lavish banquet, but being unable to taste the food because your tongue is still numb from past poison. That's what it's like to enter your new season while holding on to old grudges. The flavor of your blessings gets overshadowed by the lingering bitterness within. Letting go doesn't mean you excuse the wrongs done to you. It simply means you relinquish the power those wrongs have over your mind and emotions. You acknowledge that God's justice far surpasses any revenge you could orchestrate. After all, the same divine hand that orchestrates your repayment is also more than capable of dealing with those who caused your pain. By releasing the grudge, you surrender the task of retribution to a higher authority, an authority that deals in perfect fairness. This act of releasing resentment often involves a process. You might pray daily for the strength to forgive, or you might find solace in journaling your hurts until they gradually lose their sting. Some choose to speak affirmations like, "I free myself from the prison of unforgiveness," signaling both to God and to their own hearts that they're ready to move on. Over time, you'll notice the emotional charge connected to your memories start to dissipate. This doesn't erase what happened, but it frees you from its grip. The reason this step is so crucial is that blessings require space to land. Think of your heart like a container. If it's filled to the brim with the toxic residue of anger and pain, there's little room left for the overflow you've been promised. You can't pour fresh water into a vessel already occupied by stagnant liquid. So, to fully embrace the tenfold return of everything stolen, you must first pour out the bitterness that's been lingering for so long. Once you commit to this release, you'll find that your blessings multiply. Opportunities that were hovering on the edge of your reality will surge forward. Your perspective shifts from focusing on past injuries to celebrating present miracles. People around you will even sense your new aura. You radiate a peace that draws more favor, more connections, and more success. It's as if you become a magnet for the goodness you always deserved, but couldn't quite grasp while weighed down by resentment. This is your moment to break the chains. Offer up every grudge, every disappointment, and every tear. In exchange for the fullness of what God has in store, let your heart become an open channel for grace. The second you unclench your fists from bitterness, you'll have free hands to receive the abundance that's on its way. Chapter 6. You're being positioned for greater influence. You've spent too long in the shadows, doubting the power of your voice and story. Past failures convinced you that your role was always secondary. Yet the restoration coming your way is about more than personal gain. It's about positioning you to impact others. God is elevating you as a beacon of hope for those still struggling in darkness. With this new position, responsibilities may intensify. Perhaps you're handed leadership at work, or asked to mentor people who view you as resilient. Or doors open for you to share your story on platforms you never imagined. However it appears, your expanding reach is an opportunity to show what grace under pressure looks like. You're far from perfect, but you're redeemed, and that resonates in a world longing for authentic stories of triumph. Stay grounded, though. Pride has a way of sneaking in when you're promoted. The same God who lifts you can also humble you. Remember the sting of being overlooked, and keep empathy for those still climbing out of their pits. This new influence isn't for self-glorification. It's a tool to extend compassion, not superiority. Be ready for critics. When someone steps into the spotlight, skeptics often emerge. They may bring up your past to question your legitimacy. Don't exhaust yourself refuting every false claim. Let your integrity and results speak louder than social media arguments. Focus on the mission God has given you, and the naysayers will fade into irrelevance. Another key aspect of greater influence is managing resources wisely. If financial blessings are part of your journey, remember that money is just a tool, not the prize. Use it responsibly. Invest in worthy causes. Nurture the dreams God placed in you. Steward each opportunity carefully. Responsible use of your blessings opens doors to even larger territory. Influence isn't always about public accolades. Sometimes it's private mentorship or strategic input in critical decisions. However, God expands your platform. Treat it with reverence. You're becoming a steward of destiny, yours and others, those you're called to uplift. Your life now stands as proof of faithfulness and unstoppable power. Once robbed, you're being placed in a seat of authority. Once silenced, your voice is amplified. Wield this influence humbly, kindly, and with the certainty that God has positioned you to fulfill a higher purpose. Chapter 7. You are ready to celebrate your completion. You sense it in the air. The chapter that once confined you in heartbreak is finally closing. After countless setbacks, you stand on the brink of new horizons. Wounds have scarred, but your spirit has strengthened, and God is signaling that your season of repayment has reached fulfillment. These blessings aren't temporary fixes, but the culmination of every promise ever whispered into your heart. It's time to celebrate. Yet this celebration isn't about flaunting what you've gained. It's about honoring God's faithfulness through every storm. Reflect on how adversity refined your discernment, resourcefulness, and empathy. Each hardship shaped the tools you now wield in triumph. You may still fear hardship's return, but stepping into completion means you no longer live in survival mode. What once felt catastrophic becomes another stepping stone, lifting you to a higher vantage. This completion ignites a fresh season of creativity and expansion. The dreams you once shelved can now be revisited with renewed vigor. Frayed connections give way to allies who truly recognize your worth. Even romantic ties start mirroring your healed self rather than old wounds. Life shimmers with a hope that was tested, but never extinguished. Yet this isn't an end point. It's more like graduation into deeper purpose. You've earned the right to flow with continuous blessings, meeting each new challenge with the clarity of someone who's seen God turn ashes into beauty. Right now, let gratitude saturate your atmosphere. You've come full circle, and what was taken has been returned in multiplied measure. This isn't merely about recovering what you lost. It's about embracing the fullness of your calling, no longer defined by past trials. You're anchored by the promises that sustained you. This is true completion, the end of one story, and the divine dawn of the next.